hi. Welcome to Someone Else's Movie, the original podcast where an actor, writer, director, or nebulous industry figure gives a little love to a movie they didn't make. I'm Norm Wilner, I'm a programmer at TIFF now, and this is the other thing I do. My guest this week is Charles-Olivier Michaud, a writer, director, and producer whose films include Snow and Ashes, On the Beat, about dancers, not cops, 4 Minute Mile, and Anna. His latest is Rue, an adaptation of Kim Thuy's award-winning novel about a young Vietnamese girl adjusting to a new life in Quebec. We premiered it at TIFF last September, and it's opening theatrically across Canada this Friday, January 26th. It's very good, and you should see it. Charles picked Victoria, Sebastian Schipper's 2015 thriller starring Laia Costa as a Spanish woman whose chance meeting with some guys at a Berlin club catapults her into a frenzied night for which she is not at all prepared, though it turns out she's surprisingly capable of rolling with each new crazy development. And it's all played out in real time, in one continuous take, the better to trap us with Victoria from one moment to the next, and watch her take on whatever happens. It's a pretty cool stunt. But it's more than that. This is someone else's movie.
When I saw this film, I had no idea that it existed. I had not seen a trailer. Maybe I knew the director from, like I knew the name, but it's very, very rare for me and for anyone in the movie business or me. I'm a big film lover and a film obsessed person. I watch a lot of movies. Now that I have two kids that are 4 and 2, I don't watch as many movies. But before, like people were really impressed that I watch like 500 or 600 movies a year. And for you, it's a normal thing. For me, it was a normal thing. For a lot of people, it was not. And many years ago, I had social media, like I had Facebook and all that. I don't anymore since my first child was born. But I used to have a kind of a film blog or like a film like reviews, like quirky reviews that I would do. Anyway,
sure.
It was very rare. It is still very rare for me to not know about a film that is coming out in theaters, or a film that like a buzzy film or like, so very rarely do I see a film that I've not seen or heard about. And this film, I went to see it, to watch it in the cinema. I mean, I was supposed to go see another movie, and the other movie was canceled, which never happens. And I was like, I'm here, whatever. And I looked at the title, I'm like, oh, German film, okay. I bought the ticket and I went in, and I was blown away by this film. I mean, after the film, after Victoria, I remained in the theater and I watched it the second time.
Oh,
I didn't pay for it. I'm sorry. I didn't pay for the second time. But after the credits, I said, I have to watch this again. Like I have to know, I have to understand how they did this. And I have to look for the tricks. I have to look for how they did this. And then I remember after that, the next day, I brought my friend JF, who's the cinematographer on Rue. I brought him to see this film. I brought the composer. Over 2-3 weeks, I brought like 6 or 7 friends to see the film, because I was like, you have to see this. You have to see this. And people were saying that it was shticky. It was kind of like a one trick film, because it was one shot, because these people had read about it or something. But when most of them, when they see it, it was like, oh my God. And very rarely does it happen that movies blow me away. Like now, maybe once a year. Maybe now it's like once every 2 years that I get really, because I watch so many movies, and now movies unfortunately are on Netflix and Amazon and blah and Mubi and all this. I still go to the theater, but a lot of movies that should be in theaters are not in theaters. They just end up on platforms, and watching on the platforms. I just an example. I remember that I watched Trainspotting on a Tuesday night when I was 14 years old in the basement of my best friend in high school. And I remember the flavor of the popcorn. It very rarely happens today that I can remember those details, because the movies would just like hit me so hard. And Victoria is one of these films that just blew me away. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I saw it at a press screening for the festival that
Yeah,
year. I don't think I knew it was a single take film. And when you get that statement of purpose, once you realize what's going on and that the camera isn't cutting away and that we're just
yeah,
moving through space with these people,
yeah,
it does. I don't know if I'd call it a magic trick exactly, but it is that thing where you think, oh, really, you're going to pull this, you're going to do
yeah,
this. And I saw Rope when the theatrical re-release
yeah,
happened in the 80s, and I'm familiar with the tricks, so I'm
yeah,
looking for that. And then gradually it becomes clear that it's not faking the
yeah,
cuts, right? That, like, this is a single unbroken
yeah,
digital take. And then it becomes really fascinating. To me, it's this interesting experiment in what cinema can do without cutting
yeah.
in a thriller mode where you sort of need cuts to propel the story. I mean, there's a 97-minute version of this that moves faster, goes from place to place more quickly, but it doesn't give you the textures of.
You mean that they made a 90-minute cut of this film of Victoria?
Oh, no, there are dozens of them, not of Victoria specifically, but there are millions of movies
Oh
like
yeah, yeah,
this,
yeah,
right, that do the same thing
yeah.
in a conventional fashion, and by giving you the space.
It would not be an interesting film, honestly, if it was a 90-minute normal. It would be an interesting film because the to me that was one of the great pull of the great draw of the film is the arc of the character of that young girl from Spain who's a piano prodigy, and now she wants to have friends. That's the premise of the film. She wants to have friends, and you see her in the bar, and she goes to see the barman. She tries to talk to him, and the guy goes, "I don't care." And then she ends up with this bad bunch of criminals, of very low life criminals. I mean, it would still be an okay film, but without the. That's how you see that a director like a director's vision, when it's clear, when it's concise, when it goes all the way to what it wants to be, then it can be really, 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 it can make or break a film. And to me, the directing there is yeah, is perfect. Yeah, even if the film is full of coincidences and things that don't really work, and it's they're robbing a bank at 5 a.m. is like, and you realize when you watch the film once or twice, you realize that they're really shooting in like probably a circle. Yeah, I get all that, but they still pulled a shootout with the cops. They kidnap a baby, they end up in a hotel, they rob a bank, they go dance. I mean, it's crazy what they do. And I loved how I was really jealous of not thinking about that film. I was really jealous. I was like, I one day, don't quote me here, but one day I really want to make like a bank heist movie. And not that I want to rob a bank, but I remember how I felt when I saw Heat and that shootout. And I've never shot a gun. I don't like guns and not like that. But I think Michael Mann made the best guns, the sounds in the street with Val Kilmer, and the scene.
Oh yeah.
And I was amazed with the scene and with the film. And since then, I was 15 when I saw that or something. I want to make a bank heist movie. And even there's a lot of bank heist movies, like way too many. Like I remember watching the Ben Affleck film, The Town, and I thought it was pretty good. It was really good. And I know it was like more sugary and more kind of cutesy with the brothers, and not. I was like, it's cool. Like Ben Affleck is a really sharp director, but I never seen something as raw as that as Victoria. And I thought, why didn't think about it? And yeah, I was jealous, envious, and I was admiring the guts of making this film. And I've read a lot about how they made the movie. I've seen interviews, and I was like, wow, so many details that you don't think of. Like there was one detail that the director Sebastian Schipper said in an interview that I was like, this is interesting. He said because all the dialogue is all improvised, and he said one thing. He said, do not repeat one word. He says, I don't want to hear one word repeated in the film. So he said that to his actors. He said, you can talk about anything, but don't repeat the words. And I was like, And he was even calling if he heard words like repeated, because actors, when they're not, if they don't have a script, like it's normal, any human being will start kind of repeating and talking in circles.
Of course, yeah.
And to know, like, to be aware of that, and to make it kind of a foundation of the vision of the directing, to me, that was it was a good call, and I think it helped make this film more credible and less sticky and less kind of, let's shoot a movie on a Sunday night with a couple friends. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the prohibition on repetition is, as odd as it sounds, I think you can see it in people's eyes, and it makes it more dramatically interesting because people are constantly thinking in the moment, even as they're improvising. It's like, wait, I can't say it, like, I have to go in this direction. And it gives you a level of tension that might not be present otherwise in a film that is, it's not slow. Stuff is constantly happening, but it's measured, right? Because the lack of cutting gives you this sort of hypnotic state as a viewer where you just know that you can keep watching. You keep watching the frame, that you're never going to run out of time. And that's the thing that I find so fascinating about the film as an experiment, is that it really is about watching people think. Specifically Costa as Victoria, but everybody else has moments too where they're trying, you see them sort of stop and try to calculate how to make something happen. Everybody is trying to get the thing they want. Victoria, as you say, she just wants to be part of something. She wants to be friend. She wants to have friends. Maybe she wants a relationship, or there's something with Son, like, that she clearly is interested in him. But the momentum of the film is such that everyone is constantly being interrupted by someone else's urgency. And Victoria, who doesn't have anywhere to go or anything to do or anywhere to be, just gets pulled into every single situation. And then that point where she says, okay, I'll be your driver, is such a great moment for her, because it's the first time she's actually demonstrated a choice. Like, she's made a choice.
That's when she flips in the film, that she becomes kind of the driving force, because before she was being pulled, she was going with the flow, she was going here and there, she was following these guys that were interesting, and then at that point when she becomes a driver and the car doesn't start and she has to be in action because there's going to be consequences, that's when her character makes decisions, mostly bad, some good, until, at the end when she walks away. I mean, it was like, wow, what a character arc. And personally, I mean, I don't know if you've traveled in your life, but I'm 44 years old, and I did some traveling. I'm a very nice, very kind of I've never done anything illegal, but I've traveled, and I've had these nights when, I met, like, I remember we were in Madrid, and it was like 21 years old. And I remember meeting a guy during the afternoon at a cafe, and he was like, cool. We had some fun. And at night, he said, hey, come to have dinner with us. And we had dinner. And then after that, it's like, oh, we're going to this bar. Then we go to the bar. And then at some point around midnight, it's like, there's some guys that came, hey, let's get in the car. And we go in the car, and then we drove for like an hour and a half. And I was like, oh my God. I remember nothing happened. But I came back the next day, like at noon. It was fine. I was 21 years old, and I didn't have a cell phone, nothing. There's nowhere to report. But I remember how I felt queasy in the car after like 45 minutes, realizing I don't know these people. I don't know who these, I mean, we started 3 people. Now we're 12 in the van somewhere in Spain, and I don't see lights outside. I like this could go bad. And I love how, someone is outside of their zone, out of their comfort zone, out of their territory, and they don't control the elements, and things can go south. And in this film, they go really south. And I like the unpredictability of the decision making, of the way the characters were reacting, and of the unit that they form, even though they barely know each other. I mean, I really like this very dangerous, risky, that everything could fall apart at any moment feeling. And I've lived this experience, but I know anyone who's traveled has lived some experience similar to that, when they lost control of their night, of the day, of what was going on. And I don't know, it brought me back to when I was very much younger. And I don't know, I thought it really achieved that that sense of vertigo of completely losing the control of the situation, and that anything bad can happen. I really like that.
Yeah, well, and the film allows for it too because it starts and stops in such, well, no, that doesn't start and stop. It never stops. That's the whole point. But it moves through these different states of agitation and calm and panic.
Yeah.
But it's always doing it in a way that feels environmentally similar. I mean, you can sit, I mean, you sit for 2.25 hours and you go through all of these things. You don't move. The camera never stops. As you say, they are moving in a circle. And I think it's really deliberate to take liberties and make sure that they can shoot everything in a certain radius. And, they're all the decisions, the self-imposed decisions on this are absolutely fascinating that they chose to work between, I think, the hours of 3 o'clock and 5:30 a.m. because they wanted to hit dawn at a certain point. Yeah. And they knew they only had this 1 week of window where they could have everyone and shoot the whole thing. They only shot 3 versions, which is just incomprehensible to me. Schipper has talked about the first version being too calm and the second version, because he told the actors that the first version was too calm, the second time they all overdid it. And then for the third one, they got it right. They found the tone that worked. But the tone has to accommodate all of these other incidents, right? And you said that, the ask of the audience that we have to accept that there's going to be a club and a cafe and a bank heist and a hotel and a shootout and all these things. It's not a huge ask of the audience because I think we accept that the reason we're watching the movie is because something spectacular is going to happen. Something different is going to happen to this girl on this night. Yeah. But the actors aren't allowed to let us know it's going to be okay, which I find fascinating. There's no tone in the film because of the decision to shoot it in real time and uninflected without a score. The movie can't steer us. We have to follow it. And I think that's the way you get away with everything that Schipper pulls off. Even as on some level what the format is, what the structure is. Like it's hiding things from you, but it's also making it really, really obvious. When she meets the guys, we read them as thugs, but she sees them as clubbers because they do look like that. I mean, it's great. Every single character has 2 potential faces, including Victoria, because the whole movie is about what she's going to do next and which face she decides to show. It's just that for the first 40 minutes, we don't even know she has that second face because she's so recessed and Laia Costa is so still and watchful and needy. And then once she galvanizes everyone else into action, it becomes a completely different film, even though, all it did was shift a gear.
I love the actress obviously hit a note because she's been in a lot of like American films after that. She's been, I don't remember the name of the lead guys, but I saw a film that recently with him.
Was it Franz Rogowski who plays Boxer? Because he's in Passages just now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was. I saw him in Passages, and this guy is amazing. But at the time, I was not aware of this actor. Mm-hmm. But I thought that the fact that they went with very beautiful people, but very. I felt like I knew these people. Like I felt like they felt normal. They didn't feel like movie stars in a gritty film. They felt like real people, even though they're beautiful people and they're very talented. They felt real. They felt like people they felt like people that I would know. I thought the casting was very, 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 very smart, and in making it so real that you would accept to follow them all the way through hell and all the way to the end, and not having music or sound or editing to really construct the tension, because that's what you do with editing. And I don't know. I was very. I have to admit that I contacted Sebastian Schipper after I saw the film.
Oh yeah.
And I wanted to buy the remake rights, and I wanted to remake like kind of because his film to me was to me was a love letter to Berlin, and I wanted to make a love letter like a punkish love letter to Montreal, and I didn't want the same story, but I wanted to have like the Marvel films do, like a universe.
Oh yeah.
And it was, I think
I could see that.
We exchanged the emails and stuff, but at some point, money had to be exchanged to something, and I lost interest. But I was, and also I think he wanted, and I fully respect that, because I really have a lot of respect for him. But I think I think he wanted this film to be alone. I think he wanted to keep kind of and not have sisters or brothers of this film. He wanted to be the guy who did the sequence shot, uh, you know, Night from Hell in Berlin. And I think in some emails, he was kind of, I don't know, he was uncomfortable with the idea, but he toyed with it, but he was uncomfortable with the idea of sharing such gutsy filmmaking. And I have also, one of the things is when I watch or listen to your podcast, I saw like people pick like iconic films, and when they asked me if I wanted to make this podcast, I was like, of course. And my first film was not that film. Like the first film that I wanted to pitch you was not Victoria, and it was a Polish film called Cold War by Paweł Palikowski.
Yes.
And I love deeply this film. And this film I've seen, I mean, for Rue, I have watched the film on mute, and then I've watched the film without the image, just the sound. I mean, I really love this film. I love the framing. I love the tragic love story, like Polish love story. To me, it's one of the most beautiful films that I've ever seen. But it's a film that, like, I mean, of course, it's an amazing film. It was nominated for the Oscar. I don't know. It was an amazing film. So, and I was like, okay, this is more predictable. So let's see how I can kind of surprise you and surprise me. And there was another film that I wanted to. This leads me to it's probably because of my roots, but I really love films that are made with very little money. And when they're good, I'm really impressed. And sure. I really love films, because my first film was it was called Snow and Ashes, and was made with nothing. And I'm really proud of it. And this full of defects, but I love all of it. And it's a film that was a big calling card for me, blah, blah. But I really admire films that are made with little money. And the other film that I wanted to pitch you was it's called Blue Ruin by Jeremy Saulnier.
Sure.
Oh man. I love this film, because not only is it made with like $250,000, and it's a revenge story. It's I admire how dark, deep, and how slick it is for such little money, because I believe that with the right ingredients. Like I always say to younger filmmakers that every director, every filmmaker has one free film in them, if they can use the right favors from mommy, daddy, and people. And you don't have to be rich. I'm not from a rich family, but my first film was made asking my mother to cook, my aunts to cook, my dad. I borrowed his car. My cousin, we shot, like we recreated the Chechen War in some wood zone in the woods near my cousin's house. I mean, it's a film made with favors from people that I knew. And I always say to people that, because people, when you make movies, when you're a director, a lot of the questions from younger people is like, how do you make it? How do you, and I'm one of when I was younger, someone told me, he says, not because it's you, not because you're not talented, blah, 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 but you're not going to be the guy who's going to direct Star Wars episode, whatever, as your first film. Nobody's going to give you $100 million to make your sci-fi epic. Someone said, go home, find the resources that you have, and make a short film, make a documentary, make something, but something that you you can do, and write from how you can do it. And that's why I went from Blue Ruin to Victoria, because as I told you, there was a film that hit me really hard, and I thought it was such a crafty film, and I have no idea what the budget of the film is, but I presume that it's quite low because they did it 3 times, and it's, it's kind of, you see it on the screen. But I really admire, because when, films that are made with little money, and not necessarily first films, but films that are made with little money, to me, that's when you see the most, when they achieve, that's when you see the most creative freedom, because there's no producers, there's no there's no one breathing in the necks of the cinematographer or the director. There's really just, hey, let's make a movie. Let's be naive. Let's be stupid, and let's make a movie. And hopefully it works. And most likely it won't work, but maybe if it works, it's great. And to me, that was when I did my first film, Snow and Ashes. I was very naive. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't even know that you had to do a countdown when you say action. So I just on the first take, I was like, so we were shooting on Super 16. I was really nervous because I heard the camera rolling, and I was like, oh, action. And the actor was like, whoa, 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 whoa. You have to do like 3, 2, 1. I was like, oh, okay, 3, 2, 1, action. And I love the naivete. I love the ignorance, but the ignorance that is fueled by just making a movie and not having the ambition of, oh yeah, I want to premiere at Sundance. I want to go to Berlin. I want to make a movie. It's just to make a movie, to make a movie. To me, that was the gesture has to be pure. And when I heard about Sebastian Schipper, how he was saying that, oh, maybe we're going to do a jump cutting film, I'm sure that he would have scrapped it. I'm sure. I don't know him or anything like that as much that I would know that, but I'm sure that if it had not worked in a sequence shot, I don't think we would have seen this film ever. I think he wanted to be like, sorry for the word, the balls to the wall, crazy, let's go for it. And I really admire that. I really, really, really admire that. Yeah.
Hey, it's Norm interrupting my own show to bring you up to speed on Shiny Things, my newsletter about physical media, culture, and the odd streaming project. Last week, I wrote about Shout Studios' new editions of Tom Holland's Thinner and David Cronenberg's The Dead Zone, and I went deep on Vinegar Syndrome's surprise 4K release of another Cronenberg film, Existence. Sign up for a 14-day free trial at shiny-things.ghost.io or find a link at the Semcast Blue Sky account. You like reading about movies? I like writing about them. Come check it out. He said he did cut a version with cuts to show his investors, and it didn't work. He didn't like it. It didn't play for him. And it was simply to prove that there would be a releasable movie, but I think it was a bluff that he knew that it wouldn't work. But he did cut a version of the film with, I think, just a handful of cuts, but to show that it could be, to demonstrate a conventional version could exist. And to answer your question, the budget was apparently 443,300 euros. Exactly.
That's nothing. 400,000 euros, nothing. It's like, I mean, yes, it is a lot of money, but it's nothing to make a movie. When, romantic comedies on Netflix have $25 million budgets, it's 400 grand is nothing. So, yeah. Yeah.
And it's, I'm sure that most of that is prep, right? Like you have to rehearse. Well, you're not rehearsing because they're improvising, but you have to plan out the shoot and physically prep and do all of that. That would take weeks to make it look effortless, right? That's the thing about what you're saying. When you're working with restrictions, you have to make sure everything goes properly, and it isn't in itself like a military campaign. Or, and this is the metaphor that I was hitting on, it's a bank heist. I mean, you could argue that movies are heists. I mean, I know Christopher Nolan does it for a living, but the idea that the structure of the thing and the amount of prep and collaboration and the trust that you have to place in people that you don't always really know, I think that's why every filmmaker wants to make a heist picture, because that's sort of the mentality to get the movie made in the first place. And then you're just naturally curious about how you would handle the material without the metaphor.
I love that you say that. That's the first time I heard about that someone frames it, like turns it, like why filmmakers want to make heist movies. I always say that making a movie is, I don't think we should make movies. I think like studios with hundreds of millions of dollars should make movies, because being rational, because making a movie is there's so many levels of details of that could go wrong, that could not go as planned, that could be that could make the film derail, that could break everything. And we spend millions of dollars in a span of 30 days, 34 days, 25 days. And we hope that we make the right movie, and we hope it snows. We hope it's sunny. We hope the actor is going to be good. We hope the director of photography is going to be good. There's so many, I mean, hundreds of people. Kim Thuy from the film, from Rue, the writer, she compared me to, because she had no idea, she had never been on a film set, and she compared me to the CEO of a company. She was like, "Oh, Charles is like the CEO of a company because you're managing all these people, these egos, these visions, and she said, you have a vision, but I don't know how to hold a camera. I don't know how to put makeup. I don't know how to cry on cue. I don't know all these things, but I know that's what I want." And she was like, "Yeah, you're like the CEO." Her partner in life, he's a CEO of a big company, and she was like, "Yeah, you do the same thing, but you're like the company is not like a fancy technology company. It's like a gypsy kind of a nomad circus going around from location to location with like 50 trucks, and and it's so unpredictable to make a film, and that's how you have to, like, one of the things that, just to be back to Sebastian Schipper, that I love is that making a movie is a teamwork, and it's not like, oh, I'm the director, I'm the filmmaker, no. It's, yes, you're the director, but it's teamwork, and it's, without the team, the film would not be working. And I love how in Victoria he placed the cinematographer in the first credit at the end. I love that. I'm like, it's not the actors, it's not him, it's a cinematographer, because the cinematographer, he was walking around with a big camera, and it's these cameras are very bad for your back because it's very heavy on one side or the other, very heavy. He had to walk around he had to tell the story live, and to listen to the director was like, "Oh, turn left, go see that, go." I mean, I love how he placed his director of photography in first credit. I'm like, wow. And recently I saw Maestro and with Bradley Cooper, and I love how he placed the makeup artist, the Japanese makeup artist. I think he placed it he placed it before himself, and I think just after, like, the actors. And I was like, wow, because I don't know if you've seen Maestro.
Yep.
And to me, the makeup, I mean, yes, the cinematography, it's amazingly beautiful, but it's the first time that to me, the makeup of changing someone's appearance worked. To me, I've never changing someone as much completely. I thought that Bradley Cooper completely melted. He was hidden, and he was gone. And I did not see I was really afraid. I know there's some buzz in the trays of people that he had the big nose, that he was under, and I thought it was flawless. And especially when he's older, and the film opens on him kind of smoking a cigarette, and he's close like this to the camera. I was like, oh my God, how do you not see that? And it was, so I thought I like when filmmakers honor their teamwork, their teammates, by placing the credits, or really, it's not just saying thank you at an awards show. To me, it's going to live forever, because, it's right there. And I thought that Sebastian Schipper was really classy to place as cinematographer right up front there.
Yeah, I mean, it's also an acknowledgement. I think it's the cinema's collaborative, of course, but yeah, it's an acknowledgement that this is the man who made the movie, like literally actually made the movie.
Yeah, he's the guy who built it. Yeah. Maybe he didn't think of it, but he built it.
Yeah. And the way you'd mentioned that that Schipper was yelling directions in his ear. The thing that I was most shocked to read about, it's in a New York Times piece that came out shortly after the film's release, is that Schipper was shouting at everybody. He was shouting at everybody. he's directing the actors by yelling from the other side of the room, because he has to make sure he's not in the shot, or that he's not anywhere where he might be in the shot. So he had to pitch his voice. And so the idea that there is this other soundtrack of God yelling at the characters, I wanted that as a bonus track on the Blu-ray or something. I really would love to hear the raw audio of that film, just because there's nothing else like it. I mean, I know that, Francis Ford Coppola would do that on set too. He would yell at that clip in Apocalypse Now of his cameo screaming, act like you're fighting. That's actually how he directs. He really does yell at people. But in something as small and intimate as Victoria, it seems like such an impossible situation for the actors to negotiate, even though they know that, in the end, it'll just be them that the audience sees. But how do you not react? How do you not respond? It's just an incredible work from them.
I personally, I don't yell, but I speak to the actors in the scenes, but I kind of caliber how I do it from one actor to the other, because there are some actors who will go, what? They'll react to it. And even if you tell them, like, don't react, I'll speak to you, that it's just part of them. And it's fine. It's not that they're bad or good or something. But the young actress, there, Chloe Janji, she was listening to me, and I could talk to her. I could direct her live. I was right by the camera, and I was talking to her. I was like, look at me, now look down, now look right, there's this coming. Like, I was talking very quietly. But it's a tool or a technique that I really enjoy. When actors are receptive, some are not. Some are just, don't talk to me because I'm going to punch you in the face. But sometimes less experienced actors who are good listeners, they'll appreciate that, because especially in the films, like for example in Rue, we did very long takes. Like the scenes, it's one shot per scene mostly. There's no editing, there's no coverage, as they call it. And so it would dynamize the scene. It would make also them understand. Like, I knew that we were going to be doing like 20, 25, maybe sometimes 30 takes. It would be less intellectualizing, like less of me intellectualizing the scene before we shot it, of them in the scene. Oh, that's what you mean. Okay. Then we redo it again. And I understand how. So it was me less, so in the scene, you're going to be like this going to happen. It's going to be like, I was kind of explaining the scene as the scene was kind of living and breathing and taking place in front of our eyes.
Did you do that for every take, or just for the first few and then let it happen?
Sometimes I would do it every take, because there was always details that I would want, little things. And also because I would like Chloe, she was like, her performance, her acting was reacting to me talking, so it would make it more precise. And she would do it. She would really just listen. And sometimes I was like really quickly, now I'll do this. Or sometimes like, wait, hold, I'm going to count to 3, in 3, 2, 1, now look left. And then, so it was very like almost kind of live performance between me and her. Yeah, it was fun.
When we started talking, I said I didn't see a lot of Victoria in your films, and I think it's because but the long takes of Rue are different, so completely different in their purpose. They're there to make us more attentive. I think to share the experience with the characters rather than be pulled along by the momentum of the film. I mean, Rue is a much more, I guess, contemplative, empathetic study of people in an uncertain situation. And like, even just your choice to frame it the way you framed it, so that there's this whole world around everyone all the time, was something that was really striking, especially on a big screen. And Victoria is just more about faces and environment.
My film Anna that I directed in 2015, we did it's a thriller with an actress named Anam Glalis, and it was a set in the world of human trafficking. And we had one scene in the film. It's one scene. I think I had one kind of rule in the film: when something bad is happening later in the scene, I wanted the film to not cut. So I wanted one take scene. And there was one scene in the film when the main actress gets kidnapped at the end. She gets abducted, and we did it's a 9-minute sequence shot, and we started it in a movie theater. We were in Bangkok, and we started it in a movie theater. We came out of the doors, walked down the stairs, then it was erupting into we were coming out into like a weird, like a noodle shop. And inside the noodle shop, we were coming out on the street, which was one of the busiest streets of Bangkok, with a lot of noodle shops and street food. And then we would go into like a back alley, and at the end of the alley, that's when she was abducted, and was the end of the scene. And that was a direct kind of homage to Victoria. Like, we had watched the film, and I had shown it to my cinematographer, and I was like, I want this scene to be a one take, and I wanted to go from very quiet to very bad at the end. And it was a very fun thing to do.
Yeah, I remember that scene, and I remember thinking it's too quiet. Like, just that tension that starts at the beginning because everything is unnaturally calm, and the camera won't stop, that something is coming and we're hurtling towards it. Victoria does that for 2 hours and 14 minutes. And
exactly. Yeah.
But compressing it into 9 minutes is almost worse for the audience, because we don't know how long it's going to be. We don't have the contract with the film that this is just going to keep going. Yeah. It's a great way for a thriller to play rather than a drama, because you are just pushed further and further into it with no escape until you, the director, choose to cut away.
Yeah. Yeah. When it's planned right, it's like, not like editing. Without editing is a very powerful tool when you do it on purpose, because you use editing to release attention, to create tension. But because we're used to have, especially since the TV and kind of the bombardment of content that there's on all platforms. Now we see, like, you were very, as audiences, I think we're not used to have, non-edited or just like non-conventional kind of storytelling. And when it comes, I think people really notice it because they're not used to it anymore. But it's when you plan it, and it's not editing is a very part. I don't know if you saw the film RMN by Christian Mungiu.
I did, yeah.
The scene in the town hall.
The town hall, yeah, in the church.
I had not read about, like, I'd read about the film. I love Christian Mungiu, and I in the town hall, after like 4 or 5 minutes, I was like, oh, I don't think he's going to cut for a while. And I think I don't know. I think it goes for like 20 minutes. And
it's longer than that. I think it's 26. It's just endless. And it's great because you feel the tension and the arguing coming in waves, and it builds and it peaks and it keeps peaking.
It's magical.
Yeah. And there is that moment where I think it's the fourth person who stands to ask a question where you're just like, oh, it's just going to keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. And I thought I was with a friend of mine, and he's a sound engineer on set, and he was my sound engineer. And I told him, I said, it was after like 5 minutes. I said, you realize he's not going to cut. He's like, yeah, I know. He says, I'm freaking out. How did they sound this thing? He's like, there's people in the back, there's people in the front. He's like, how did they do that? Yeah, it's very gutsy. And it's when it, like, for example, not knowing that it happens, it creates a tension with the audience, because even if you're not a filmmaker and oh, he's not going to cut or blah, blah, it builds, because then you're like, wait, when he's going to cut, when he's going to release me, and I think there's something really powerful in the gesture of not cutting. That's when, like, a film like Victoria, maybe today or 2024, I don't know, like, people would know that it's a non-cutting. Like, I love the fact that when I watched it, I had no idea that it was that film. After 10 minutes, I was like, oh, I don't think they're gonna cut. I don't know. I don't think. And I love this convention. And if you don't know, then it becomes even more thrilling and more anxiety inducing to me at least. I love there was did you see Asbestos? Franco Spanish film thriller.
No, I don't think
it's
a
movie.
Okay.
You have to see that. It's my top film of 2023, and it's
wow.
It's a kind of rural thriller, territorial thriller of a French family moving into to be farmers in a very remote place in Spain, and it talks a lot about very, very big, bold themes that are very present. people, immigration, do we have the right, is our voice as a new resident is as powerful as the ones of people that live there forever anyway. And they use the same, as we're talking about, like the non-cutting of scenes that are like the most intense scenes of the film, and they're very subdued, very quiet. The camera doesn't move, and it's just like three characters talking to each other, like, oh my God. And after like 2-3 minutes, you're like, oh, he's not gonna cut for a while. And it's tension that builds and builds and builds, and it becomes really uncomfortable and really powerful. And when actors, they know that and they use that to their advantage, I think that's when you can have, because there's no way of fixing or changing or altering their performance. To me, it's raw, pure cinema, and I love that. And I think in Victoria, one of the reasons why Laia Costa has become kind of a Hollywood actress now is because her performance is there. There's nothing to help her. It's just her there, and I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, it's the perfect relationship too between actor and character, because the character is on her own ultimately and has to make all of her own decisions, and you're watching someone do that in real time through the filter of this thriller storyline. But when you understand how it was made, you just look back and go, oh my God, she's holding the screen. She's, with the exception of, I think, the 3 minutes towards the end where she had to run out and use a bathroom and find a way to do it. And I only found out about that because Schipper was talking about it in the interview. It's like, I had no idea. I was so in the film at that point towards the end. It's like, I don't think I noticed she was missing. It's when it's in the hotel room. She's supposed to go get help, just for the audience that might not have seen it. But it's even better to realize that she broke, that she stopped. She found a way out of the movie and back in so late in the game that she must have been in such discomfort.
Imagine the people, the director, the cinematographer would be like, whoa, where are you going? Like, this is it. This is the film. Like, do not leave. And I love the unpredictability of that. And I'm sure on set it would have been like, whoa, what's going on? And to me that's a good. That's where you see that this actress is really connected with the story and the character and what she's saying, because she could pull out and come in and still have the same intensity as if no one had seen that. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and of course, for the previous 15 or 20 minutes, she's got it in her head that she has to do this, but it'll kill the film if she breaks, so she can't, right? Like, she has to. That's another, I mean, God, that's another movie. That's an entirely different movie from the perspective of someone trying to finish a film in a single take. All right, well, I don't think you have to license that idea. You could do that one on your own. Yeah.
The single take. Yeah, no, I just, to me, the idea was to really pay homage to have a sister film. I mean, you can make a single take. I mean, there's a lot of single take films. Like, I mean, Birdman was kind of. Rope, you were saying. There's what are the other single take films? There's King Dave in Montreal a few years ago. It was very, very strange, because it was it's a period piece that would go back in and out of. It would like jump in decades. Anyway, it was a different idea, but it was still, the way that they did it was a single take with moving sets on buses and stuff like that. But it was, the idea of a single take is just, I wanted to do it properly in a way, and have kind of a partnership with them, and to hey, you did this in Berlin, I'll do that in Montreal, and we'll be cousins. Yeah. And but maybe I'll do it on my own. I don't know. Yeah, I really love films that like, to me, as a what I do as a filmmaker is different than what I love. I mean, obviously, but it's, some films that I really love, like Uncut Gems, to me is a master class in anxiety and in tension building. Mm-hmm. I profoundly love this film, and I don't think I've ever felt so uncomfortable in a film before. And my wife, I watched it during Christmas. He was like, "Oh no, not again, not this." She's like, "I'm not going to sleep again," because Adam Sandler, I mean, he makes such bad decisions, and he just makes them worse and worse and worse and worse. And it's always about the chase, and it's not about the money. It's just about the chase. And I love these films that Good Time again with from the Safdie brothers.
Sure.
They're anxious nightmare films that are so real and raw that you're like, it could happen to us if we took bad decisions. Like, it reminds me of the worst days of, even if I'm not a gambler or I'm not a criminal or anything like that. Like, we all have bad days, and I think these really embody bad days for really quirky characters. And I really love these types of films. That I'm really drawn to these types of films, and I love how characters. I love to watch characters make decisions on the fly that are good or bad. I like how Adam Sandler tries to negotiate with his stepbrother or something, like the brother of his wife. The gangs. I love how complicated he makes it. Like, we make life way more complicated than it should be, and I love that in movies. It doesn't reflect in my movies, but that's.
My thanks to Charles-Olivier Michaud, whose thoughtful, empathetic adaptation of Roux opens in theaters across Canada this Friday, January 26th. Thanks also to Marguerite Barbara. She knows what she did. As he said, Charles isn't currently active on social media, but you can keep track of Roux on Instagram by following its distributor, Imna Films, IMMINAFILMS. And as for Victoria, well, the Blu-ray went out of print almost immediately, but you can find it streaming on Canopy, DirecTV, and Paramount Plus in the US, and available to rent and buy on various VOD services across North America. You can find me on Blue Sky at Norm Wilner, and you can find this podcast there at Semcast, SEMcast, and on the web at someoneelsesmovie.com. The first year of the show is still available for just $20 at payhip.com/Semcast. That's the first 52 episodes of Someone Else's Movie, 44 of which aren't currently available anywhere else. And check out my newsletter, Shiny Things, at shiny-things.ghost.io. I think you'll enjoy it. Our theme song is by The Last Year. If you like it, or the show in general, please say so. Leave a review wherever you've been listening. Every little bit helps, it truly does. And check out the other shows on the Frequency Podcast Network while you're doing that. Stay safe, watch movies, wear a mask if you go out, get your booster when you can. I'll see you next week.